have created a custom-made mosaic backsplash in my kitchen, and in this video I'm going to share with you the process. For such a project, in addition to the inspiration, you need to prepare the materials that you will be using and the tools that you will be using, and also to lay it out on a surface. For the surface, I've been using a mesh and then was transferring it later to the wall. For the inspiration, I've been using Park Güell and Gaudi's bench as an inspiration, so I looked through a lot of pictures and videos, and then I figured out what it would take to do all of that. So I have bought a big mesh. It's called Mosaic mesh. I bought it on Amazon, and then I draw some kind of the outline on the walls, on the bare walls, and then I pinned the mesh to the walls, and then I transferred the outlines from my wall. This is, I am tracing what I have from my wall, on my walls, I'm tracing it to the mesh. And I also drew the lines where my cabinets are going to be, so that my design is not going to get into the cabinets. And then I started cutting it, but I knew I would not be able to do such a huge piece of mosaic, so I knew I would cut that one into smaller pieces, and also be aware where you would have the outlets. So for the outlets, I had to leave the holes. You see, like here, I'm outlining the electrical outlet. So the most challenging thing would be when you will be gluing it back to the wall, that the outlet hole is going to be exactly where you plan. So I would put my mesh on the big plastic roll, so that it does not get glued to the table or to the paper or to the board, so that the mesh does not go back and forth. I taped it so that it stays in place. I taped it on the sides. This is the instrument I highly recommend to cut the tile. So then I went to the store and I got all different color plates, and I used the hammer and I separated them by colors, or in my case by the pieces. So I knew one piece is going to be more of a green, so I had all my greens prepared together. The more of a different type of the same color you have, the richer it's gonna look. So I have 2 or 3 different oranges. Then I also ordered some Mexican tiles, and I also ordered some of the backsplash pieces. When gluing mosaic to a mesh, you can use either a school glue, or I've been using those 2 products. Then the next step is, when attaching mosaic to the wall, this is the product that I'm going to use, and then grouting it. I will let this one stay for about a day. Then I would make a grout out of this. Normally I do it with water, but I found another product which is grout boost. Instead of water, you put this and it makes the quality better, so we're gonna double check that. So this is going to be grouting, and normally after grouting I would do sealing so that the water cannot go through the tile or through the cracks between the tiles, the grout. However, this particular one says never needs sealing, so probably the sealer and this special brush to actually put the sealer all over, I might not be using at all. So this is how my first piece looked in the very beginning, with two eyes for the electrical outlets. And you see I have I've written that that's a left part so that I know it goes to the very left of it, and I had it like that for about a week before the glue actually dried out. As I was doing my other part, I've got some wildlife coming to check it out, which was very cute. So I've decided to put a real part of the vase into it and glue it, which made it, you know, look much more real. And this is how I started another piece, which I wanted to be in a Mexican or Spanish style, have more of blue. My sister came over, took her a minute to figure out how it works, and she helped me with the sun part, which is the one on the right in my kitchen. So that's her gluing, you see, and she also left a hole for the outlet. And time came to try to put it onto the wall. So we put the adhesive to the wall first, a very thin layer, and then the challenge was to put the entire piece and to put it in the right place with all the, you see, holes for the sockets, and have it glued to the wall as soon as possible, because in a minute it wouldn't be able to get it out. So my contractor Grisha, who did a whole lot of tiling before, showed me how to do the first one, and he's getting off the extra pieces of mesh and taking out extra adhesive from the wall. That was our first piece to go on the wall. So adding my own backdrop to the backsplash, I'm using this acrylic, putting a little bit on the wall, and then just putting tiles, gluing tiles, and it takes maybe a couple of minutes for it to dry. So by tomorrow it's gonna be dry and we would be able to grout all of it. The acrylic I was using is exactly the same as this bigger pot with adhesive, so there are several options to glue it. And the tile itself, I just got a whole bunch of white tile, like I think it was white subway tile in Home Depot, and I used my tile nippers just to cut them. And you can see, you know, I created a whole bunch of pre-cut pieces for myself, and then the only thing I had to do is just do a little adjustments to make it look cooler, and I figured out otherwise it's just gonna be really long. So this is the acrylic pro I've been using for that. So after this is done, it had to stay for about a day or so. And actually this piece is the only one I've done right on the wall. I didn't have time to finish up this latest one on the mesh because it takes about 3 to 5 days to actually get really glued to the mesh. So I had to do my other one on the wall, and it's actually much easier to glue to the wall, even though with the mesh you can really do a very intricate design and a picture, mosaic picture. So that's the situation now. I have part of it done. I'm about to glue this one. You see now it's glued with a piece of vase, and I am finishing up the backdrop, the white backdrop, and I think after about 8 to 10 hours, after it's dried for 8 to 10 hours, it's possible to start the final process. For this we need the gloves, and we put together grout and water, or grout and grout enhancer, and my contractor Grisha helped me with the one. He showed me how to do the first portion. So basically you have to do it really fast, because grout dries out in about, I would say, 15-20 minutes. So you need to use an instrument like that to make sure it goes through all the cracks. And if it's a very intricate design, I would use my hand and really kind of mash it in there, make sure that there are no cracks left unopened, unfilled. And then right after you finish doing that, you start wiping it off, and you do it with 2 moves on each side of the sponge, because you don't want to mash this thing around. So you keep getting the extras of the grout out until you can see all of the mosaic. Sometimes you just wait a little bit and just use a damp cloth to just shine those pieces. For the initial phase of the project, and also for cutting out and gluing the mosaic on the mesh, you can spend as much time as you want. But for this second and third parts, where you actually have to glue the mosaic on the surface and grout it, you have to work really fast, because both the glue and grout dry out very fast. I will put more details about my project on my website, mosaiclovers.com. Any questions? Just ask me there. I wish you all new amazing projects.